Alright, this video is going to serve as a tutorial for activity 2.1, number 4C. And again, this is just another video dealing with some angled lines as just like in the last one, and trying to kind of help with some technique here. So, one thing I'm going to start with is go ahead and let's start with a glass box. I'm going to start down here in this point. As far as this object goes, overall width, the corners of the boxes are going to be kind of come down to. So here I got one grid square, 2, 3, 4 wide. So this one here ends up throwing students for a little bit of a loop. So just because a lot of the grid lines, but here height wise, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I'm only 2 on the depth. So I can go ahead and put this in and start finishing out my box that I'll have for the object. So as far as what this looks like, faces that touch the outside of the box, typically I usually like to start with the front face, but the front face has got all these angled lines in here. I'm going to start with the one that's pretty easy. Let's look at the top face. So it's a 2x2, it's right in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and draw it in and darken it with some object lines. So that way it stands out from the rest of the box. And then, the reason why I did that is because now I got a point here. And I know from this point down to the very corner of the box, I got to draw a line, angled line. So now I've got a starting and a stopping point. I draw that in. And then the same thing on the other side. So down to this corner. So as I put this in. Okay, so that kind of helps with setting up some different boundaries. I can do the same thing on the back. So that way I can see those faces as they get drawn in. And then here's where I got to start looking at the front face. So I got the top and the right side view, but the front face is not quite detailed yet. So here, if I look right at the corner, I've got a line here, and then I got to come up until I hit the next grid square. So I got to come up 2 grid squares, and it's hitting about a quarter of the way, right about there. Again, I know where I'm starting, where I'm stopping. A lot of times students will try to blindly draw an angled line, and this is kind of the technique. So I got to come over until I hit until I got a little bit of grid square left. So looking off of this point, so I'll go ahead and draw in that line length. And then I got to come right here to this corner. So again, starting and knowing where I'm starting, where I'm stopping, drawing the inside of that leg in there. And then my next thing is looking at the kind of the A component. So right here in the middle of it, I'm going to come up, put a little point in there. I'm going to come over. So just like how I come over here, kind of splitting this almost in 2. I can go ahead and put my line in there. I need to know I need to come up 2 grid squares. 1, 2. And I need to see from the middle, I'm going to come out about this point and about on that point. And then it's just a matter of drawing in my angled lines between them. And then putting in my this one here, I don't have a grid line to follow, but following that Z-axis will go through and help out quite a bit. And then as far as this goes, kind of following the shading that I see on the model. I'll be able to see that I've got darkest face. It's going to end up getting to be the front with the most shading as I deal with that here. Alright, and this should finish out number 4C on activity 2.1.